So we have the next episode in my trip to Los Angeles, trying to find the best aquarium content out there. The first was an awesome local fish store, CK Fish World, which might be the best fish store in all of California. Then we had a very special tour at John Neiman's house, where we toured his 1,000 gallon aquarium and his 2 cichlid houses, an absolute legend in the hobby, a wealth of knowledge when it comes to breeding any type of fish. But the third stop here is someone you may have seen on social media before. He has an incredible company and some awesome aquascape tanks, and we have a really cool personal tank from his that we are going to tour, so I'm really excited about this. Let's go. We have a very special set of tours today. We are with Mark Chen, also known as TMK Aquarist, huge Instagram page that we absolutely love. So what are we going to see today?
Today we're showing you guys my studio. There's like a couple of projects that's ongoing, and of course this guy right here behind us, and then also my personal tank, which is called the Grotto. It's a little while now. It's a little while now on Instagram especially.
Yeah, you've gotten millions of views on that on Instagram, I'm sure, just because that tank is insane. So definitely stick around to the end of the video. We're gonna tour that grotto and it's gonna be awesome. But do you want to start here?
Sure. With
this tank? So what do we have here? This is immaculate.
Yeah, so this tank right here is a paludarium, and I named it the Water's Edge. It's basically a 60 gallons short tank, right? That's on the bottom, and then there's like a plant wall system on top. It's about like 5 foot tall.
And are all these live plants?
They're all real.
Yeah.
And then very, very low maintenance, I have to say, because I was just away for a trip. Like I was gone for like almost 3 weeks, and I didn't have to do anything for this tank. The top off is automatic. You know, the fish without food, all these plants, especially the plant wall, really you know, just filter the water. Yeah. And I don't even do water changes on this tank, so it's like super low maintenance. Anyone who wants like a setup and is like really lazy about maintenance should do like a paludarium with massive amount of plants, a little bit of fish, and you just don't even have to do anything.
Yeah. And I think a thing we're going to see is you love live plants and aquascaping. That's a big part of what you do, right?
Yep. So what I love to do is I got into the hobby as a fish lover, right? I started with like big Central American cichlids. Those were like my type of fish, and then I've always wanted to create something more natural, right, for their tanks. So before I was introduced to aquascaping, I was trying to, you know, like put stones and like wood, some type of wood in the tank so it looks more natural. But then also I'm not super fixated on having my setup to be like the exact replica of like a biotope. So it's not strictly biotope. So I guess my style is like a hybrid, right? Which is like biotope inspired setup. So that way, you know, like I have the best of both worlds, right? Like I can show off the fish, I can really kind of mimic like their behavior in their natural habitat, but it's also very aesthetically pleasing. Yeah.
Absolutely. And they make these look incredible. Also the fish in here, what do you have in here exactly?
2 types of South American cichlids in here, which is the Ivan Acara bimaculata, and also I have 1 single male Ivan. It's also Ivan Acara, but it's the Adokita.
Yeah, 2 awesome underrated cichlids for sure. Yeah. And like the males have like such a cool color pattern to them.
Originally got him as a pair, so there was a female, and then they were bonding, they were breeding. However, the female passed away just from a bacterial infection, I feel like. So now he's actually trying to breed with one of the female bimac in here, which like I seen them paired up. I just haven't seen any offspring yet. It'll be a pretty interesting combo, I think, if they do pair up and, you know, reproduce.
Yeah, some awesome pretty peaceful when it comes to cichlids, I would say. Is that your experience?
No, no.
Really?
Yeah, the reason why they named this genus Ivan Akara is they named it after the Russian what is it, Tsar, right? Like it's the Ivan the Terrible.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because they're extremely intolerant of other fish. However, the Bimax are much better.
Okay.
Than at tolerating their tank mates, but the Adokitas are not.
Gotcha. Wow.
So yeah, so they're not they're not very friendly. However, if you make a tank with a lot of hardscape and then a lot of break of line of sights, then all the fish will learn to find their hiding places and they'll coexist, and the dominant male will claim like a territory.
Mm-hmm.
But and you will have like sufficient space for the other fish to kind of like find refuge. So that's how they're able to live together peacefully, I guess.
Awesome. Well, I love what you did with this. I mean, it's pretty incredible. Is there any other tanks in the studio you want to show over here, or?
Not really. I mean, they're like, that's just a holding tank right here for like some of my extra plants, and I have just some Coste tetras in there for no reason really.
I think it was a good time to say, like, so this is your studio for your business, which is a huge part of what you do. Want to explain just what that is?
Great. So I started my business in 2019. So it's called Nature Design Studio. We build high-end aquariums and nature setups for clients all around LA and even nationally. So aquariums, plant walls, paludariums, and even we're getting into like koi ponds as we speak. Yeah. So it's been a journey for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like we mentioned, the Instagram page, you post a lot of those, which is like always so cool to see, along with your own personal tank. And then you also have a huge tank here in your studio that's empty. What is going on with this?
Yeah, this is 450 gallons. Used to be called the River. So it's what I call the tank that I started on. So when I first just started my Instagram account, basically this setup got me like a lot of followers, just because the build process, like I documented the build process, and it was like a whole journey, because when I got this tank, this was actually my first planted tank, and then I knew nothing about aquascaping and planted tank, and then I used this tank as a research vessel to an experiment, which in hindsight was not a great idea, because you want to start small, not with 450 gallons. Before I even got to aquascaping and learn about planting and all that, I had to basically fix the glass, because when I was this was a saltwater tank. It was a reef. So they had like two overflows, one in the corner, one in the back. This was the back side. But then when I was trying to remove the overflow, I cracked the tank from here. Like, so the entire glass was just cracked all the way down. And then I just I was so lost and didn't know what to do. I called around, trying to find like a glass manufacturer or like fabricator, right, to like replace it. And all of them just told me, you're not gonna pay me enough to fix it. You should just get a new one. But then I was like, nah, you know what? Like I've dreamed about it for too long, and just spent too much time trying to get this to work. And then I just kind of like replaced it, the entire panel.
Wow.
And it was a whole journey. This thing took me more than a year to set up. Yeah, from just like moving the tank to it filled and being complete, like more than a year, so almost 2 years I feel like.
Yeah.
Because this just replacing this whole panel was like 3 months, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this tank
I had to do it twice.
Has a lot of sentimental value, goes way back with you. So
very much so. Yeah.
Setting it up here in your studio is gonna be pretty rewarding.
Absolutely. I'll call it like the River 2.0.
Yeah.
and it's gonna be a native North American fish fish tank. I actually have a huge stump, right, that I picked up off of the side of the road to be in here, and it's a huge stump, and it's trimmed to the footprint of this tank, which will be like a perfect hardscape.
Well, do you want to double check and put it in here?
Let's do it.
Like a glove.
Aquascapers needs to go to the gym and work out.
Everyone will have to keep up to date with your social media to see the updates to this beast of a tank.
Yeah, but you guys have to be patient because this has been.
I'm gonna get this video posted. Like you're gonna be on a timeline.
I know, right? That's true.
Yeah, well, this is gonna look awesome, and even though it's incomplete at the moment, it's also pretty cool to see a tank this big. Kind of the vision you have for it, but do you want to go next to see a completed tank?
Yeah, let's
Your awesome grotto?
Let's do that.
Alright, let's snap to it. Alright, so we are here. I am so excited to talk about this aquarium. It's legendary on social media. So tell us a little bit about it.
It's 300 gallons Discus tank that's called the Grotto. I set it up during the pandemic, I want to say, so it's been running for 5 years now. As you can see, it's super overgrown. Roots just got out of hand. Plants, the Java ferns completely got out of hand. But despite all that, it's a pretty, self-sufficient and rather healthy, ecosystem. So, again, this is it's a theme with my tanks that's low maintenance. Even though I have discus in here, wild discus, yeah.
And like you said, it's a theme. You also have a theme of just really awesome aquascapes that brings everything to life. So these are wild discus, you said?
Mm-hmm.
And then they're tank mates. It's like Cupid?
Yeah, so Cupid cichlids, and then I have also the other species in the same genus. That's the Waverani. Mm-hmm. So they're both Baltodoma, in the Baltodoma genus. And then
Bolivian rams?
I have some Bolivian rams. I got a zebra right here. You guys can see.
Oh yeah,
this big guy. I have 3 of them in here, so they show up from time to time. I have a huge sunshine actually in here. He's about that big.
Yeah.
But then you won't even know about it just because he hides in the rockworks. And then, for example, the slate. So there's a lot of caves in between the slates, and then he can just hide in there. A whole bunch of plecos, other plecos as well. And then I also have the corridors. These ones are the very rare ones. So these ones are the Pantanal lenses. They're from the Pantanal.
That's awesome. I mean, great stocking of fish and great aquascape. You said it's 300 gallons and it's also a room divider, which is a really cool element. You have the scape where you can see both sides, which is super cool. What are the dimensions of this tank? Because it's very tall.
60 by 28 by 40 inches tall.
Wow.
I wanted to make it taller, but then I wanted the space, that's above water to have the plants. To grow immersely and all that. So then I just decided to have it at 40 inches tall. And plus, anything over 40, anything over 36 gets hard to reach, right? Yeah. So then 40 is about, as tall as you typically want to get. Yeah, anything taller, you gotta have the right tools for it. Yeah.
And we might show that a little bit if we trim some of these plants. You said it needs a little bit of a trimming.
Yeah, we'll do trimming. And then I think one thing about this tank that I want to talk about is really how I wanted this tank to tie in with the interior of the room instead of just having it as a standalone aquarium, right? Because when I first got the house, this spot was like, cause like every house I go to, the first thing I think about is like, oh, that would be a great spot for a tank, right? So then when I bought this house, this was like a bar slash, like the bar section, right? And then I was like, yeah, that's it. This is the spot. And my wife was like, okay, that's a pretty cool spot. But then her request was like, I want a wine cooler down there, and then I want the escape to have like a see-through, so it's not too crowded. Like you can see through it, and then see the other side and have the view. So then I was forced to basically move the plumbing to the outside of the house, and then because there's not enough room down here because of the wine cooler. And yeah, it was like a challenge, but it was a very good practice and also like learning experience for myself, because now I build all these setups for clients, and then some of them are in the same situation where they want to have locate their filtration system remotely, which so it came in handy.
Yeah, when you're dealing with high-end aquariums in a really nice home, having the filtration somewhere else is pretty cool. So did you plumb through the walls to get outside? Yeah, so the drain goes to the outside and returns back. I purposely left the water to have like this at a level where like I can hear it. Otherwise, I can dial it in to have the tank completely silent. Yeah, completely silent. Do you just like the calming sound of water? Or? Yeah, I just like have the water noise a little bit. Yeah, not too loud though. So when it comes to the Discus, have you had any issues keeping them, struggles, or have they been pretty good? No, Discus is a different animal. Especially wilds, right? Yes and no. Yeah. Yes and no. The domesticated ones are, like, some of them are more adapted to our water parameters. However, they're not as resilient, actually. Okay. The wild ones are really tough. It takes a lot, actually, to kill them. But then the thing with Discus is, if they're not 100% healthy and they're not like shiny, then they're ugly. Mm-hmm. There's no in between. So, like for example, this guy, he looks good, right? He looks good. He's pretty rounded, and then he's not like very skinny, so he's pretty good. But then versus, let's say this guy right here, he's not doing very good. So he's more like, he's skinnier, right? And then he's not like very, like I hate 100%, because when he's 100%, his color is more like that, right? Mm-hmm. So then it's more shiny. Like that guy in the back, he's in a pretty good shape because you can see his body is very full, right? So then when Discus are not at their 100%, they're just not very attractive. But then I think the most important thing is feeding. So if you can provide like live feeding, which I don't have. Like for example, if you have like a white worm culture, that's the best food for Discus. Or black worm. White worm's actually better. So if you have that, then yeah, you solve like probably 80% of your problems right there. Mm-hmm. If you have live feed, for wild Discus anyway. Absolutely. Yeah. And I saw in your previous 60-gallon tank those same lights. You really like the skylights? Skylight, yeah. There's Skylight from Poland. This one, the model is called Hyperspot, which is great because just imagine like you have 8 castle lights on one light, right? Yeah. They're pretty much the same, and then there's spotlights, so you can see the shimmering, right? And you can adjust like all kinds of colors. They grow plants really well, and then also they penetrate really deep into the water. So 4 inches of water is no problem. I can pretty much grow a carpet if I want to with this light. I really like it. And in terms of the plants, you have a lot of Java fern. Yeah. And then what are these guys out here? Monstera right here. I've got some pothos on top. And then here's just like a whole bunch of ferns that's just kind of grew wildly. Yeah. I have an orchid actually right here that's growing aquaponically.
These flowers kind of just withered now, so I think there's like a new stem growing. But yeah, it's an experiment. So I was trying to see if I can grow them aquaponically, and I think I'm able to.
Yeah. Well, this is an incredible tank, like super calming, awesome aquascape, obviously, and just the room divider aspect. I would never get bored of watching this tank, you know.
Right. Yeah.
All right, Mark, do you want to get to work on this tank? Kind of show us what you do sometimes?
Cool, yeah. It's overdue for big trimming, and then also I will replenish some sand on the bottom because some of the plumbing is showing. So then I'll do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's get to it. All right, so Mark, you are trimming the ferns right now.
Yep. So they get way overgrown, so you just have to
trim them so that they grow back.
Yeah.
Now you're trimming, what is that one?
Yeah, the pothos.
Those are really big pothos leaves.
They are. Yeah.
You can already see a lot more light coming into the tank too.
Exactly.
Already quite a good amount of plants.
Yeah. Making a mess.
Now we're in the tank and this is Anubias.
Anubias.
That's
a huge Anubias. It's been growing for
that is crazy.
Years. I just haven't touched it. So
can I have that?
Sure. I have
so
big tools for big tanks.
To get down to the, where are you gonna cut now?
I'm gonna try to trim the jawfer on the bottom.
Yep. And here's the updated trimming that we did and tank cleaning. And then you said what you're going to do with the sand over here?
Yeah, so I'm just going to replenish some sand because a lot of them have been, going into the filter. Yeah. So once that's in, I'm just going to call it.
Yeah, well, I think it looks awesome before and after, but definitely cool to see the process. Thanks for showing us, man.
Of course.
All right, so Mark, thanks so much for showing us your studio and the grotto here. Absolutely incredible work. And obviously you can find links to your social media and everything else down below. But thanks so much. Really appreciate you having us.
Of course. Thanks, man.
Yeah. So it was awesome to hang with Mark and check out some of his personal tanks, learn a little bit about his business. But the grand finale from the Los Angeles trip is coming up, and you will not want to miss it. Stay tuned.